Tucker is standing by with the report from the Temple Watch Party.
Thanks, Laura. We're here at the Student Center in room 200 for this campus-wide viewing party hosted by Temple Student Government, NAACP, Media Meltdown, and MPHC. Over 200 students have come out tonight to watch the outcome of the 2012 presidential election. This event has been filled with live entertainment, free food, and live media updates. The atmosphere is filled with tons of excitement. Students are anxious to find out who will be their next president. I'm standing by with Temple University Junior, Kevin Newsom. So Kevin, tell me why this election is important to you.
I think one reason why it's very important to me because this was actually my first time voting. The last election I was 17. I missed it by 2 months, but very important to me because I feel a part of. I feel like my word got out there. It's just a great feeling. Just a great feeling to be a part of this country and to have a word for our next president.
Thanks for sharing that with us. Well, the event is planning on wrapping up around 10 p.m. So if you're on or around campus, come on and stop by. For TUTV News, I'm Monet Tucker, live at the Student Center in Philadelphia. Kyle Noon has a social media update for you back in the studio.
Thanks, Kyle. That's our show for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Controversy and outrage among some groups, saying it would make it harder for some folks to vote. Although Commonwealth Court judge has ruled that the law can't go into effect until the next election cycle, we wanted to take a closer look at the purpose of the law and objections to it. TUTV's Monet Tucker has more.
And show it.
Show it.
Show it.
Show it.
If enforced, the voter ID law will require Pennsylvania voters to show a valid photo ID in order to cast their vote in the election. Opponents, such as the American Civil Liberties Union, say the law disenfranchises minority groups and the elderly, who may not have easy access to that kind of ID, making it difficult for them to cast a vote.
Well, we think voting is a fundamental right, and we don't believe that the government should be putting barriers in the way of people's right to exercise that right. And the voter ID laws, while in theory it sounds good, in practice there are lots of people without ID. In Pennsylvania, we think there are hundreds of thousands of people that don't have acceptable ID, and Pennsylvania's voter ID law is actually a very strict one.
33 states passed new voter ID laws this year, prompting national protests like this one from comedian Sarah Silverman.
If you think I'm being paranoid, look at this.
Voter ID, which is going to allow Governor Romney to win the state of Pennsylvania. Done.
While the voter ID law has been placed on hold for now, it could be enforced as soon as next year. Considering the timing of the court's decision, some still believe that there may be voter confusion at the polls this year.
I absolutely think there's going to be a lot of confusion at the polls. There's confusion for poll workers. I mean, some of them had started training before this. Most of them hadn't quite started training yet, so that was at least good. But they certainly read the newspaper, hear things, so for them it might be unclear because of that. And also, poll workers are not, in Philadelphia at least, poll workers are not mandated to attend training. The average is something like 20% of poll workers attend trainings.
Not true, says Philadelphia City Commissioner Al Schmidt, who with two other commissioners runs the Board of Elections. He says since the court's decision, poll workers have been retrained now that a photo ID is not required.
Now, so the election boards will ask for ID, but if you don't have ID, you're still allowed to vote on the voting machine. And it's important to us to make sure that everyone knows that, because it's our job to train the election boards. And because of the appeals and the decisions, it occurred so late in this process, the final decision, that some of our election boards had already been trained to implement voter ID in its entirety. So we've had to go back to make sure we contact them again and inform them of what's required and what isn't.
Schmidt points out another factor that could influence the way elections in the city functions this year: registrations. In 2008, there were 300,000 paper registrations. This year, there were 200,000 paper registrations. Why the large decline in registrations?
I think there could be a couple of factors. One, can always be related to enthusiasm, right? Like some election people are more enthusiastic than others. It has nothing to do with how important the election is to the city or the state or the country. It's just sometimes voters are engaged and other times they're less engaged. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is, you know, you at some point, the more people you register, the fewer people there are to register, right? We want everyone who is eligible to vote to register to vote so that they can vote on election day.
Regardless of how elections go this year, lawyers for the ACLU will be back in court next month to ask for a trial in an effort to strike down the voter ID law for good. For Crossroads, I'm Monet Tucker in Center City.